So I failed to have a baby 2 times. And you would think that my family would be the ones to support me, get behind me emotionally. But guess what? My sister, she was the complete opposite. In fact, she was mocking me, saying that I am not a lady because I can't have a baby. Well, you know what they say about karma? Well, let me tell you what happened to my sister. What's the most painful thing that can happen to a mom? Many will have their opinions, but for me, it was the regret of not being able to get that title. I got married years ago, and we decided to start a family from scratch because we were looking forward to it. My family and my husband's family are large, so it's normal to do our bit for the next generations. However, not everything went well, and due to pregnancy complications, I lost my baby when I was only 3 months pregnant. The pain and depression lasted for about 2 years, during which I lost too much weight, my body became really flabby, and I stopped going out. It was only thanks to my husband and my friends that I was able to have a chance to get back on my feet. They helped me get out of their dark threshold, and I give special thanks to my husband because for all the time I lived repressed. After all, I felt that everything would lead to a loss again if we tried to have another baby. He had to be in a drought. Well, all the time, but he just stayed with me because he loved me, and after all that we decided to try again to have even more intimacy this time. Well, you know what? It worked out well in that regard, and yes, it was a long process, but I did it. I came to feel genuinely happy with myself and my body, and I'd felt that it had been all my fault, and so I didn't want to even dare to try it again. He treated me very well, even paying for psychological therapy, and so we managed to solve the problem. Not only that, in time, something happened that would change the picture absolutely radically, right? Well, you know what? I got pregnant again. It was difficult to accept this fact at the beginning, but thanks to my acquaintances, they made me see that everything could go quite well and that I had nothing to really worry about. I took folic acid and vitamins and did the recommendations of the exercises and went for a walk in the morning before going to work. The doctors even told me that they had never seen a healthier pregnant woman in their entire careers because I was super committed to achieving my goal. And at the rate I was going, I would have a healthy baby. Of course, the only downside was my mind, which was sending me intrusive thoughts and negativity. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, because at some point in the process, because unfortunately history repeated itself. One day, I was with my friends at one of our Sunday tea meetings. We were gossiping, we were laughing, with the occasional comment about the baby. You know, the usual, but at that, I felt a rather sharp twinge between my back and belly. All my alarms went on, remembering things from the past. I kept my cool as much as I could and excused myself to the bathroom with a little assistance. As I sat down and let it all flow, I heard something, and as I wiped, I noticed a bit of blood. I was barely 6 months pregnant, so something was wrong. I can't describe to you how hard I tried not to faint, as the shock of seeing so much blood did not do me any good. I do have a phobia of blood, so you know my life hasn't been very pretty so far. So I called my friends who came in and took care of me, called my husband, and together we went to the hospital. I felt no more pain, and they took me to the emergency room. Without really understanding why, they gave me anesthesia without even telling me why, and with my husband accompanying me all the time, but leaving me in the dark. The last thing I remember seeing before I fell asleep was him crying. When I woke up, I found myself alone, without my husband by my side, without my bulging belly, and without my baby. I lost him. I don't remember how long I was alone in that room, but it was long enough to put me into a lifetime of reflection. In that short space of time, I cried, and I got angry, I got depressed even. And I was rethinking so many things, and it seemed like I had lived 8 lifetimes in that instant. When a nurse came in again, after about an hour or so, and noticed that I was awake, well, he sat down next to me and explained the situation. It was indeed the baby I lost. Well, something in my spine had come loose and made the baby's position quite uncomfortable, to the point of, well, I don't want to give the details, but the point is it's ugly, very ugly, and all my fault for not having done anything. Even if they told me that it was something accidental and that it had nothing to do with me, well, you know how the human mind is. specially designed to treat you as the enemy in these situations. I don't know why the tears were slow to come. Maybe, just maybe, it's that I felt I had to assimilate the sadness, but having done it for a long time, I want to believe that I adapted to that scenario. Then, my husband arrived and the annoying visits began. The only one who did not visit me was my sister Alina, which I found quite rude because even some cousins from another state came by to see me. Anyways, everyone showed their support and generosity with gifts, but I remember being in a very neutral state. Very gray, if I could describe it with a color. I felt nothing. The pain was somewhat light in my stomach, but not enough to distract me from the pain in my soul. I felt unwomanly that I had failed at that what I was born to do. But I had to invoke my teachings on state of mind control again so that I would not fall back into depression. Since then, I've had some strong conversations with my husband, telling him that he does deserve a woman who can please him with what he wants and that he probably won't have any more sexual appetite after that. This was perhaps an exaggeration, and I feel it may be milder than the previous time because of a serious factor. I became infertile. It's hard for me to write this in tears because it just feels so final, but it's just the way my insides were damaged by the last 2 surgeries that I simply can't harbor another life. It's not pretty to think, though, and although there are alternatives, you don't see them at the moment and you only think of throwing hatred at yourself and cursing yourself. I'd better write to you another time as I'm not feeling so well, and next time I will tell you about my sister, as there's been a few things about her that I have not quite liked. But until then, I hope you are well. Have a nice day, afternoon, and night. Update number 1. Well, I feel better now with more encouragement than yesterday because now I feel that the subject is a little more apart. It's about my sister Alina, who, let's just say, hasn't been the best person in the whole process of my pregnancy and losses. At first, during the first pregnancy, she was excited about having a new nephew, but after what happened, she put a bad face on everything, considering it was all my fault. If it's bad enough that you're sabotaging your mind, imagine when someone else does it. It's like a little devil helping a demon and vice versa, and I never even dared to talk to her, but my parents did. They reprimanded her for being mouthy. She's always been like that, though, and her mouth has no lock. Since she was little, she was always the gossipy one in her class, and the one who wasn't afraid to tell people things to their face. But that is combined with the fact that she is not very sensitive in her thinking, and she doesn't usually come up with very clear ideas about what she wants to express. When my first loss happened, she came to a point. I think it was after the first year where she told me super bluntly, I should smile, life goes on. I couldn't stay in a sea of depression, otherwise I would drown. And worse, I would drown my husband, my parents, my friends, and her too. At first I thought she was right, but so far everyone has said that she was too insensitive. And I feel like it's worse this time because she's recently married a man that she's barely been dating for a year. Too hasty, if you ask me, and started planning her own family. She's too impulsive, and I feel like this is also her doing, just to weigh my situation within the family, which I really dislike. She hasn't even stopped bragging once about all the wedding stuff, and I feel like this is partly a kind of payback for my situation overshadowing her wedding theme a bit, you'd say. Her event was beautiful. Her husband comes from a middle-class family, but he did everything he could to accommodate Alina's every whim, which isn't few, and give her everything of her dreams. But soon after I had my accident, she stopped posting on her social networks, quote, out of respect. But you know what? I just knew deep down that she was upset that I had made her excitement pass so quickly. Since then, I haven't had the same relationship with her. We only see each other at family lunches, and I feel like she avoids seeing me when I go as a surprise to my parents' house. I'll explain. Her husband's traveling a lot for some businesses, and every time he does, she goes to my parents, but when I happen to be there, she looks for any excuse not to be there. Moreover, she's been stopped going to our Sunday get-togethers with friends. And when I asked her at one of the lunches, she just told me that she did it, quote, because now it's become a support club for you, referring to me, Well, I have 2 miscarriages. What else do you want me to do? Laugh, jump for joy, enjoy life? It's so disgusting, and I don't know if it's because I'm hormonal or something, but when I think about it, I can't help but feel a combination of hate, anger, and annoyance, frustration even, and sadness. So, one moment I'm like, my little sister, why is she talking to me like that? And the next, I'm going to kill her. But hey, I guess that's par for the course in my situation, right? As I said, my parents have tried to talk to her, but it's to no use. It's like talking to a wall, and I have a sneaking suspicion that should she get pregnant, she'll have no qualms about making the news the most mega spectacular event in the world. I'd say something like, and I should still have consideration for her. Her time has passed, so goodbye. If you guys think that's kind of insensitive, yes it is, but I don't dare to say anything more to her about it. To some extent, I feel like I've been stealing her thunder, and if she wants to do something on her own, go ahead. But don't let her try to minimize my pain, because the last thing I've wanted is for people to see me as a victim. I haven't liked her since I was little, but I know who she is. So, she wants to get as much attention as possible, that's for sure. I would also be frustrated that her husband is always on the road and just looking for ways to be present in other people's lives, but to me, that's not a life. But as they say, to each its own. Update number 2. If I was bad before, I'm so much worse now. What I was so afraid of happened because only 6 months after my loss, Alina announced her pregnancy, and it was in the middle of a Sunday meeting. She did it in such a spontaneous, dynamic, and joyful way that even my friends asked me afterward if it did not bother me. Whether it bothered me or not, I cannot do a thing about it. It's her life and she decides how to live it, but I won't deny that it did hurt me just a little bit. I've seen a future where she does get to have her baby, and I'll just stay and visit it so I can have a moment with them. If I can't even be a mother, I will at least try to be a good aunt to them. Of course, they won't be deprived as their father is working well enough to support the whole family. It's been almost a week since I've seen my sister's husband, and it has been revealed to me that he won't be in the country for at least 3 months. If I could be more honest with you, Alina's pregnancy is a bit unpleasant for me, but it's not for the reasons one would expect. I say it's because Alina herself confessed to us that she stopped taking her birth control pills and that she told her husband to do it at least 4 days in a row before her trip, to make everything safe. In the end, it worked out, and I would like to be a surprise for him. For him to come back to see her potbelly as some sort of housewarming gift. I say I dislike it because, well, a gift like a new wallet or a watch is fine, but guys, we're talking about a pregnancy. Even if they're looking forward to it, doing it without their consent still has to be wrong in a sense, right? Anyways, the more that I think about it, the more I keep repeating to myself that it's none of my business. Anyways, guys, everyone's happy for her, and they're already making arrangements for baby showers, gender reveal parties, setting up one of the rooms in their house and my parents' house for the baby. Everything that I went through was taken away from me. Sorry if I'm just being pitiful at this point. It's just that I would have liked all of this at some point. While I won't get on Alina's bad side and attacking her or resenting her, not that it's even easy for me to do so, but at least I won't be a shoe horse in her way. She's happy and excited to the point where she's been talking to me again, for advice on prepartum training. That's the only nice part I can salvage from all this, because otherwise, I'm still upset about the previous treatment. I gave her the pointers she asked for, and she thanked me. But so far, I haven't seen her start to put things into practice. The last warning I gave her, she didn't take it well, and this goes for all of you readers, is that she should start doing everything early, before her belly starts to show, because if she doesn't, then she'll have a hard time doing it when she's already a few pounds heavier. Not that I'm the world's foremost expert on pregnancy, obviously, but I feel that if my little piece of heaven was taken away from me, it must have been for something larger, or at least I'd like to think of it that way. Update number 3, bomb. Something just happened, and I feel that if I don't tell you, I'm going to explode. I talked to my sister's husband, and I'll tell you that everything's going to come crashing down for her very, very soon. It turns out my brother-in-law is infertile. Yeah, just like you read it. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm actually going to faint, guys, but it's because I can't hold this information in for any longer. You see, I was talking to my brother-in-law recently because Alina's birthday's coming up, and he wanted to give her a present from a distance since he didn't know what to give her. Married too soon, obviously. And since Alina's other friends are very gossipy, he preferred just to go with me right off the bat. We talked very nicely, and he let me know he was not going to be coming back for months. I felt a little pain thinking that for months that man would not know that he was going to be a father. But in the end, he wouldn't be, because of a small, slight oversight on my part that I've been avoiding the baby thing, and it crossed my mind to tell him, only to ruin Alina's surprise while it was going to be a very despicable act on my part. I felt that at least I would have my longed-for revenge. It was then, as if by mere coincidence, that she brought up the subject of my baby. Well, I was going to stop him at that moment, but then he threw in a sentence that threw me for a loop.
Oh, yeah, well, despite everything that's happened to you, OP, I consider you a warrior. I've had my own struggle in a way, and well, yeah, I wish someday I could have a baby too.
I hadn't quite understood what he said, and I said, yeah, it might happen soon. And it was as if the guy had broken down in front of me, and after a long silence, he said to me, no, I don't think I can, because confessing it, I can't have babies. I didn't know what to say. My first thought was it's going to be a miracle that the man who could not have children was going to have one. A miracle the opposite of my experience, and I was about to reveal all, but he told me that he had an emergency vasectomy when he had finished college because of a condition. That, coupled with the operation, made it impossible for him to have children. So, I ask you, what would you have done in my position? Just as I was about to tell him about Alina, my mouth closed and he kept talking. He told me he would talk to Alina to mediate the possibility of adoption. Although he didn't know how she would take it, he hadn't even told her. He confessed to me that he decided not to say anything to her from the beginning of the relationship because he felt that she was going to abandon him by not being able to give him a child. He said that as a result of my own experience, she gave a lot of consideration to having a baby, in the end opted for the idea that she did. I connected wires in my mind and hit on everything. My sister's very random one had been having a secret affair, and now she's pregnant by her lover? When her husband finds out, everything will go to hell. That will be something worth recording, so I say to myself, and that's when I came up with the idea. Alina's baby shower will only be a few months away, and her husband won't arrive for another 2 or 3 months, and in the meantime, he might find out about her offspring by surprise. I'd better not say anything, and I'll tell you when everything's been successfully accomplished. Update number 4. Everything you do comes back to you. Today, I can vouch for that fact that this phrase is fully true. And in what a way, ladies and gentlemen, mind you, I don't regret anything I did, even though I showed myself as having done it accidentally. A few months passed after my sister Alina's pregnancy announcement, and everything was going great until I found out that her husband was actually infertile, and now everyone was going to find out about the infidelity. The party began to be prepared as if it was going to be a real caravan, inviting as many people as we possibly could, including our little Sunday group. Everybody wondered why Alina did not bother to reveal the affair to her husband, but she wanted it to be a surprise. And that's where I had my hook. I pretended I never heard the information Alina had given me the silent treatment these days, and if she talked to me, it was only through mediaries, usually my parents or our girlfriends, to keep me in the loop. Everything but the big reveal, and if she wanted to exclude me from her big moment, well, it was time for a good sisterly moment. The party was good. Baby-themed, games, dynamics, gifts, the huge. A few words were given, and that's when I made my own words. Some of her friends were supportive of surprising Alina with a video call from her husband. So now I could have somebody to share the guilt with once it was all over. When it was her turn to say a few words, pretending she was having trouble getting up despite being only 3 months pregnant, we started to pick up our phone. She began by thanking everybody present for their warmth and generosity, and the speech went on in a very emotional way. And I swear that even if it was for a millisecond, I was a little embarrassed to go through with the plan. I kept telling myself that she's my sister, and it was her big moment. So it was best to stop us in the act. However, the direction of the conversation changed, and when I entered the subject, she mentioned me, punctuating my losses in front of everyone. I was seething with rage at the time, so I don't quite remember what she said. I just know that it was something along the lines of, "I will extend the family, and life always finds a way." Well, isn't that from alluding to the fact that her children's lives were more worthwhile than mine? If anybody focused on my face during the video, they would have caught the shallowest, fakest smile ever on my face. There was no doubt in my mind what a wonderful moment that was going to be. That's when Alina dropped a bomb. "I don't just want to mention the health of my baby, or should I say babies." Apparently she's pregnant with twins. She'd been to the gynecologist just 2 days before and revealed to him that she was expecting healthy twins, news that even was dumbfounded by me. Well, while everybody was stunned with happiness, I was stunned in the sense that this was going to be the worst thing ever. Way more than I expected. It was then that I stood up with one of her friends, and thank goodness that she spoke first. She revealed the surprise, and I followed with a third friend raising her phone to show that she was on a video call with her husband. From what little I could see on the screen, he was red. He was in tears almost, but not the gesture of a person crying from happiness. He was just staring at the screen, stunned, almost without blinking. Even I was scared, and I would not have liked to be my sister at that moment. Then Alina spoke, greeting her husband, and I thought for a moment that he was going to ask them to take Alina to a private place to talk. But when we gave her the phone, within seconds, her reaction changed. And that's when I knew that it started. The next thing I remember was seeing Alina walking into an adjoining room with a straight face. It was hard to make out, but I knew her husband was yelling, causing some people to come and confront them. One of her friends, the rude one, even spoke badly to her husband, telling him, who did he think that he was to talk to Alina like that? Well, he replied, and in such a perfect answer, I don't think I will ever forget, "I'm an idiot, that's what I am." And after that, all downhill. The party canceled within minutes, and with many people not knowing exactly what happened and why the mother was suddenly crying inconsolably. Well, there was a long conversation between her and her husband and her friends, but then she was locked out of the call with the husband saying that he would come back to see us only to sign a divorce paper, and that he, quote, "wished my sister well with her twin babies." The part left me speechless, and I don't know what you guys think, whether you see this as too abrupt or too mild. Let's see. I went through a rough patch, thanks in part to her, and even at the last instant she kept taunting me, so I feel like nothing, well, not everything that happened was wrong. Besides, sooner or later she would have figured it out. Let's just say it was thanks to me that it was sooner, saving the poor guy a few expenses, right? I haven't heard from Alina since, and I'm writing this from home before getting ready for bed. I feel that at least today I was able to sleep better. Final update. When I logged back into this platform, I was very surprised by the avalanche of accumulated messages. I think it's quite crazy how receptive I was to my story. I mean, people just like gossip, maybe that's it. And so, as much as it pains me to accept it, I feel I must bring this to a closure. But do it on a positive note, right? Currently, my family's divided into 2 camps, mine and Alina's. I will say her first. Her side is those who still think and talk to her after the news of her infidelity was made public. Everyone knew about it, as it was a rumor in the city of this magnitude. It even escalated to a place like her workplace, affecting her job. It sounds rather ironic, right? But well, since after having criticized me for so long, playing the victim and having to face so much scorn? Now she's going through the same thing, feeling much worse even? The twins were born healthy and with a dark complexion more than normal, so sooner or later they were going to find out about the event, and even if I managed to keep the surprise for a few more months, don't believe it, I'm still shocked by the way the events unfolded. But what I did was karma, that sooner or later would have come to anyways, although maybe I made it come a little early. Now she's living with my parents who help her with the twin babies. The baby's real father was gone and kept no further contact with Elena, and well, those in the wrong always get their punishment, or at least that's how I like to believe it. The other point I was going to make was me, who, by the way, is doing much better now. Perhaps because of the whole Elena thing, as bleak as it may seem. It's funny how other people's experience end up peppering you with experience. And it is, or has, made me appreciate life in a way that I have not for years. So, exclusively for you who have been accompanying me all along the way, I reveal to you that I'm going to be a mom. Albeit in a more alternative way, my husband and I are going to start the adoption process, which will allow us to have a boy or a girl, so we can have a complete family. It was a somewhat difficult decision which required a lot of conversations, and in the end we opted for this since we saw that it was an option that we could satisfy several parties with. That has me very excited and very, very, very deep down, I have to admit that this situation will make Alina very upset. She'll say something like, "Why don't they better help me with the twins if they have so much money and energy? But I'd rather keep that little secret to myself. My family doesn't know yet I'm adopting, and when we'll tell them, it'll be a bombshell. But until then, best wishes to you and Alina even. Anyways, see ya." I mean, what OP's sister did Alina, mocking OP for not being able to have a baby, is one of the most insensitive, toxic things that somebody could ever do to someone. I mean, put yourself in OP's position, being absolutely ripped apart from your heart, losing a baby 2 times, and then having your sister basically gloat, saying how she's gonna have a baby, how she's going to have this nice family life, all basically just to rub this into OP's face. Well, like I said, karma came around for today's story, and it came swiftly. I want to know what you guys think about this. A lot of the people in the comment section were not really happy about how OP was treated, obviously, and they think that Alina deserved to be caught for cheating, and this was the way that it was going to happen. Her husband turns out to be infertile, which was the one going ahead to dissolve the entire mystery. She's a cheater. Guys, let's talk about it down below in the comment section. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on today's story, and what you would have done if you found yourself in OP's shoes. My name is Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every single day, and if you guys can't get enough stories, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out my other 2 channels as well, Mr. Reddito Animated and Mr. Reddito's Revenge, for daily stories on all 3 channels, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.